You have quite the journey. Maybe catch us up on your backstory.
When I first started out, I was all in on email marketing. We were doing 40, 50K, 60K monthly, very, very easily, if I'm being honest. I think the biggest exit I've probably had is around 250K. So not ridiculously big, but big enough.
When did you land on Pinterest? When did you discover Pinterest for one of your sites?
We spent a ton of the budget on SEO and we were seeing maybe 50% of the results. And we were spending much less on social side. So I thought, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Where does email marketing play into these content sites nowadays?
Most people understand email marketing, but they don't really think that number one works, or number two actually drives any real value.
How far in advance and how important is seasonality and how far in advance?
You do have to plan, if I'm being honest. The better you plan, the way easier it is. We do start planning probably about 3 months in advance.
What are the big misses that people make?
So there are some niches that you can capture emails in. And if I'm being honest, you're probably never going to make more than maybe a few $100, $1,000 if you're lucky, because the people in that particular niche just don't spend money.
That's good insights. Now I'm pulling back a bit and asking for like high level things you're noticing or trends you're seeing that are playing out today.
If I was coming into this industry right now, into this niche right now, and I kind of wanted to build a business, I would...
Okay, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman. Today we're joined by Mullah. Welcome on board.
Hey, thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you. It's you were commenting before we hit record. You've kind of listened to the podcast before for a while. It's always good to have someone on who's listened and then can come on and teach some of the things they're doing successfully these days.
Yeah, 100%. Lots of small gems, maybe big strategies and tips to share with everyone. So super excited.
You have quite the journey. In many ways, I think your journey will mimic a lot of people listening, or certainly symbolize a lot of what people are wanting to do and going forward wanting to do with kind of side hustles, content creation, websites, these sorts of things. So maybe catch us up on your backstory to get started, and then we'll get into what you're doing with websites these days.
Good stuff. I think I kind of stumbled into the online digital marketplace maybe like 10, 12-ish years ago. Mm-hmm. So I've been in the space for a little while. It's obviously changed significantly since then. But I didn't really focus on SEO. When I first started out, I was all in on email marketing. That was my bread and butter. I made a lot of money for many, many years. And maybe we'll get into some of those stories and those tactics soon. But that was kind of my bread and butter. And then as things changed, the digital landscape evolved. I saw an opportunity in the SEO space. And then I just taught myself it pretty much. I spent about 9 months to a year just learning so much YouTube, different related strategies, listening to Spencer, obviously on seeing his kind of milestones as he kind of went through his journey, listening to a ton of different other people and reading loads of articles, and pretty much just taught myself how to rank my own websites. That's where the aha moment clicked in. Ranking my own websites, seeing organic traffic, seeing advertising money coming in, seeing affiliate money coming in, and this just kind of going down that field of at the time content sites that are making quite a lot of money, to be honest, and being sold for quite a lot of money as well.
You've had a number of projects that you mentioned that you started and sold. I mean, maybe give us some perspective as to the breadth of what you've created over the years. Just to give people an idea, like when you say that you did pretty well, there's certainly some pretty nice exits you had.
Yeah. So on the content side of things or the email side?
Either or.
So I'll start with the juicy numbers because everyone wants to hear the good stuff. So I think in when I was kind of full scale in email marketing, we were doing 40, 50K, 60K monthly, very, very easily, if I'm being honest. We had a really, really dialed in system. We didn't spend too long on a day-to-day basis, and we made a lot of money. I think our highest kind of revenue was like 75K. And then if you kind of understand how email marketing works, you don't really spend that much money besides the software itself. And we was purchasing leads at the time. So it was like 85% all net profit, which is really crazy. I spent a lot of time in the Caribbean. I taught all my family members it. We all went out there. We spent about 3 years out there and we just had fun, a lot of money. We didn't have kids, no mortgage, nothing like that. So it was just amazing. It was a good time. And then I guess when I got a little bit older, I kind of had some perspective. And that's when I thought, although I love the email marketing side of things, it kind of dipped sometimes. So it was like super high some months and super low other months. And that's when I kind of came into the online world. And then I guess with the online world and the content sites, think the biggest exit I've probably had is around 250K. So not ridiculously big, but big enough. I've had multiple kind of low six-figure ones, and then obviously loads of five-figure ones. And then also in the middle of all that, I started my own agency. And I did that probably about 2.5 years ago. And that's been probably just as good as the content sites, as is, to be honest. It's been its own business stream.
Do you ever get stuck in your business and wish you had someone you could turn to for solutions? Well, I think you should consider joining the Niche Pursuits community. You'll get weekly calls with experts on growing a successful online business, and you'll also get assigned a small mastermind group where you can solve your business problems as well as share your wins. For a limited time, I'll let you try out the Niche Pursuits community for just $1. Go ahead and use coupon code PODCAST at checkout in order to get your first month for just $1. Again, that's coupon code PODCAST. Go to community.nichepursuits.com today and see what it's all about. And maybe I'll see you on our call next week. Thanks a lot.
Well, congratulations. That's a lot of different moving parts and a lot of different areas you've had success, right? I know it's like, to your point though, a lot of people will come on the podcast and talked about how like once you kind of get a good system for something, you can replicate that pretty easily. So, yeah. I mean, let's maybe get a synopsis so we can move into today's conversation, like where you're at now, what you're doing now. I mean, it's no secret, content sites, air quotes aside, they're different now. You kind of touched on it. Many of the things you've talked about, by the way, maybe aren't different, like email marketing. Talk about what you're doing now as an overview, and we can use that to get into today's kind of agenda.
Yeah, good point. So like my day to day right now is a little bit different. I still own the agency. It still does quite well. Not as well as it did 2 years ago when SEO and organic search was just kind of going up and up. I have the content sites still, but I would say most of them aren't really, they don't have the traffic predominantly from organic search, specifically Google. Those have kind of dropped significantly. So I have diversified those traffic sources. And then I guess I do some other kind of consultancy work as well. And off the success of the diversified traffic, I've just started my own Pinterest agency as well. So that's kind of my day to day.
Continuing the trend of staying busy.
Yeah.
So Pinterest, you mentioned Pinterest. Like what are you having success on Pinterest with any of your own personal projects, or are you exclusively doing that as an agency?
Yeah. So the way that I kind of run any agency that I set up, I usually just do my own things first. And then off the success of my own personal projects, I get to learn what works and what doesn't work. And then if someone approaches me and say, hey, Mo, could you help? Then that's when the need gets filled. And the same kind of happened with the content management and website management type of side of things. I didn't really want to start an agency, but I just had loads of people asking, hey, Mo, can you help with this? And hey, Mo, can you help with that? And at first I was like, not really, kind of got my own projects, but eventually I figured out a system, I scaled my team, and I was able to offer the service at a really competitive rate, to be honest. And the same thing has kind of happened with Pinterest now. So I would say Pinterest is probably my primary traffic source, although I didn't expect it to be, if I'm being super honest. That was just a side traffic source that I had spent some time on. But as things have changed, the market's evolved, and I've seen what's capable of Pinterest, I've just spent some more focus there.
How have you transitioned content sites? Because it sounds like you still have content sites and you're still in that space. How have you transitioned your content sites over the last, say, year or two as so much has changed?
Yeah, good question. So I think for me, the beginning of this year and the end of last year was the transition point for me. I think HCU obviously affected everybody. And then I realized I didn't really want to be at the kind of helm of Google core updates. It didn't make sense to me. Personally, professionally, just having most of my kind of eggs in all in one basket. So I just kind of tested a few different traffic streams, and that's what I mentioned. Pinterest, I tested a fair few, but Pinterest seemed to be at the time doing okay. And then as I spent more time focused in that area, I saw the fruits of the labor of, okay, I can have traffic coming to the site, but I don't really have to do on-page SEO realistically, because traffic from Pinterest or other social sites is a different style of kind of creating the content to match the user's needs. So most of my kind of sites content structure is a little bit different to what it used to be. And that's, if I'm being honest, probably easier now than it used to be, because Google's very much its own beast.
What is a day in the life of one of your content sites? Are you publishing new content? Are you focused on designing that content for Pinterest only? Are there other channels you're pursuing at the same time?
Yeah, so I probably have about 3 realistic sites that I see as valuable. So they're worth 6 figures. Of those sites, I'd say they are all Pinterest heavy in terms of its traffic. It's probably about 65% Pinterest, about 25% organic, and then some other socials, maybe some Facebook, etc., or some direct traffic. And the day-to-day is pretty much going through different kind of pin ideas with my content team, and just scaling out different sub silos within Pinterest itself, and then seeing what comes back in the analytics, and then kind of doubling down on that. So probably similar to what I used to do 2 years ago in terms of with organic search, but very different in terms of the actual day-to-day on-page content creation.
What made these 3 sites you talked about good for Pinterest? Was there something about them? Is there something that somebody listening can think to themselves, okay, my site might be a good candidate for this, or I don't think I'm gonna be able to duplicate Mo's results here because of X, Y, or Z that you've learned?
Yeah, good question. And the thing about Pinterest, as I mentioned, I didn't really want to go down that route. It just kind of happened organically. And to kind of answer your question, Pinterest I didn't understand it at first. That was the issue. I had some campaigns, they ran okay, but I didn't really understand it. But as you just spend more time doing anything, you get to understand it. And I spent a lot of time just kind of in the weeds. And essentially, Pinterest is a visual search engine. And the mind frame of the user is, I'm kind of on there, I'm sharing things with my friends, I'm pinning things, I'm looking for new ideas, new visual creatives. And if within that kind of subset mindset, if you can give them an image displayed at the time that they want it, go into a website that gives them more images displayed at the time that they want it, with the correct colors, the correct visuals, the correct text, call to actions, they're always going to click and save it. And I think that was the aha moment for me. It was, okay, this is less text search and more visual, and playing with kind of those emotions. So that's what I kind of spent time in the weeds figuring out. So some of the niches, as you can imagine, they're very visual orientated. So things like lifestyle, fashion, maybe gardening, travel, food, fantastic for Pinterest. I think one of the biggest niches I have now is fashion niche, because you just have kind of women probably in the US, and they're just on there, spend a ton of time sharing different dresses, different skirts, different just clothes with their friends, pinning it for themselves, etc. And that traffic stream just kind of never stops, because there's spring, then there's fall, then there's winter, and then you just kind of go through these different life cycles. And again, the aha moment clicked for me because it wasn't really seasonal, it was kind of evergreen. So to answer your question, definitely visual first. Anything fashion related obviously was going to work. Anything that someone's going to share with their friends are going to work. One thing that probably won't work is like finance, something that's very heavy. You kind of have to read it and understand it, etc. So as long as there is a visual element to your niche, it should do very well on Pinterest. The more visual, the better.
When did you start? When did you land on Pinterest? When did you discover Pinterest for one of your sites? And what kind of traffic growth did you see and are you getting now?
Good question. So the first time I came across it was a client site. I had, as I mentioned, I've still got the agency now. We probably the end of last year middle of last year, we signed a contract. So he was with the agency for about 12 months. And then as part of his social traffic campaigns was a Pinterest account, which like I mentioned, had kind of no idea about. Well, I had some, but nothing in depth. And then finding and being kind of involved with his social media team, seeing what was possible with not a lot of effort, if I'm being super honest, compared to what we was doing on SEO. We spent a ton of the budget on SEO, and we were seeing maybe 50% of the results, and we were spending much less on social side. So I thought, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then it kind of tied in very well with HCU, core updates in December, etc., and then more in kind of March of this year. And then seeing the scale that was possible in Pinterest, that's kind of where my mind kind of went towards. So I guess to answer your question, at the moment, somewhere in the region of about 250,000 outbound clicks from Pinterest monthly. If I'm being honest, that's probably going to increase very, very soon because we're just spending more time there. But yeah, somewhere in that region, between 200 to 400,000 clicks a month on Pinterest.
I'm just trying to get my mind around what you're doing on Pinterest. Let's say I'm in a visual niche and I wanted to dive into that. What type of workload on a daily or weekly basis am I looking at? And what type of things am I going to be doing? Obviously, we can all imagine I'm going to be taking my content, I'm going to be researching which content works well on Pinterest, trying to match that up, trying to publish more pins to drive more traffic. But beyond that, what are the levers that are going to lead to me actually being successful with my efforts if I have a visual niche and I want to go into Pinterest?
Yeah, fantastic. let's take an example. So one of my clients now, they have a food site. They recently signed up. The SEO campaign that we had running was very different to what we have now. So what they kind of do now is they take pictures of their own meals. They structure it in with the competition research that we have on Pinterest. And then we play with different ideas. So some of it's based on their ideas. Some of them are based on what I've seen in analytics or what I've seen in the competition research directly on Pinterest, what's working there. And then we flesh out different ideas. Once we're happy with those ideas, I create the pins. The pins are pretty much just an image. It's an image, very, very heavily vibrant, colorful, and has a call to action on them. Again, thinking about the mindset of the people behind Pinterest, when they're scrolling through their search screen, something has to pop out to them. And it has to show them what they're trying to search for in a very image-friendly way. So to give you an example, it'll be like 10 barbecue hacks for the summer holidays or something like that. Quite catchy, quite rich in terms of the colors and the vibrancy. And then it needs to have the right image layout as well. So again, scrolling through, you want to see something that is popping out to you and you click on it. So we create probably around 10 to 15 per day per campaign. People do a lot more and sometimes people do a lot less, but that seems to work really well for us. So that's a small nugget that someone can take away. Around 10 to 15 per pins per day we do. And then when we see what works, we just put our thumb down on that and then spend more time in that area.
How focused on seasonality are you, and how far in advance do I need to plan? Like, we're recording this early July. It'll come out sometime probably in July. Like, am I done for summer? Like, is it over and I just got to start focusing on the fall, Halloween now, like Christmas now? How far in advance, and how important is seasonality, and how far in advance?
Good question. You do have to plan, if I'm being honest. The better you plan, the way easier it is. We do start planning probably about 3 months in advance. And it's not because you kind of need to put those images, those posts, those pins up right now. It's because it takes time to really understand what you're trying to deliver to the audience, number one. And then number two is you kind of send out these small tests just before the event or like weeks before the event, see what works. And then again, as I mentioned, double down. So Pinterest is very much like, again, behind the mindset of the person. Once summer's finished or finishing, no one really cares about looking at summer dresses anymore, right? They're looking at fall stuff. They're looking at winter stuff, cold stuff, coats, jackets, etc. And all the shops are bringing those things in many more weeks, possibly a month or so before this kind of summer's out. So you kind of just go and trend with your particular niche. Again, same with cooking, for example. If you're looking at barbecue summer recipes, and we're coming to the end of summer, no one's going to be really interested in those because they've done those already. They search for those in spring. Now they're coming to the end of the season. They want to find something else, get ready for it, prepare for it. Because as I mentioned, when someone clicks on the pin, they're not there and then going to go ahead and create a recipe. They're thinking about it, they're sending it to their friends. They're going to understand it. They're going to compare 3 others and then make their mind up. So you kind of need some leverage there, some
Interesting. And I'm guessing the predominant kind of monetization path for a Pinterest traffic website would be ads, right? Is there anything else you're seeing work well beyond ads on your website to make money off that?
Yeah, good question. So ads would have been the biggest primary revenue driver for me had Mediavine and third-party cookies not been removed. Well, there's a pipeline in place whereby possibly at the end of the year, maybe at the beginning of next year, it was supposed to happen already, if I'm being honest. So if people aren't aware, essentially Google are taking away first-party data, so it's going to be very tricky for ad networks to track people that's on their sites. So if that wasn't the case, I would have just left ads because it's a lot easier to do. Everyone understands it. Very easy to scale as well. But what we're doing right now is we're just kind of having opt-in pages, sign-up forms, and building email marketing. And then sensibly, we're going to be sending out free offers and also affiliate offers, maybe our own offers, depending which niche it is. So we have more control with the data that and subscribers that we actually own.
So good transition, email marketing. I mean, that was like your first, success, at least from what you shared early on in this interview. Like, where does email marketing play into these content sites nowadays?
So that's a good question. And the thing is, when I left email marketing, I didn't realize that it would be this important. And even throughout the agency that I kind of run now, I still very much advise all the clients, look, we should have an email marketing campaign because you don't know what's going to happen. You have your own subscribers, you can send your own traffic, etc. Most people understand email marketing, but they don't really think that number one works, or number two actually drives any real value. But over the last 6 months, I think people have kind of realized, actually, with the different updates that Google's kind of going through, And the fact that the businesses that we are trying to create now in terms of the content sites and the websites and affiliate sites, we don't own anything. So we don't own the product. So Amazon can change the commissions or take it away. We don't own the ad revenue or that space, so we can get the cookies taken away. But you do own your email list. So that is definitely something that we've been spending a lot of time and just kind of testing different campaigns. So I use a tool called Monster, which is just a different kind of a visual landing form and split test sign up form and software and website. And we just spend a lot of time just optimizing sign up forms to get the best conversion rates on our squeeze pages.
What, for someone who's been doing email marketing for so long, what are the big misses that people make? Because again, kind of like Pinterest, but in a different way. Like it's pretty easy to sit down one day and say, I should do this email marketing thing. So you slap, you go sign up for an email provider, you slap a pop-up on, you start generating email subscribers, you send out emails. It's pretty easy to get started, but a lot of people don't get traction out of the gate. What have you learned over the years you can share with us?
Yeah, so a few things, if I'm being honest. The first thing that I would say is not every single niche is going to be perfect for capturing emails. Well, let's change that. Not every single niche will be perfect for revenue after capturing emails. Mm-hmm. So there are some niches that you can capture emails in. And if I'm being honest, you're probably never going to make more than maybe a few $100, $1,000 if you're lucky, because the people in that particular niche just don't spend money. It's just the truth, right? So that's something to bear in mind as well. The niche makes the biggest difference. And the second part is, once you've done all the hard work, you've built the squeeze page, you've got the opt-in form in place, you've done the conversion marketing, people are coming in and everyone's happy, and you start to kind of build your autoresponder sequence, you really have to understand what's happening in the subscriber's mindset, and where they are in, if any, their buying journey. Once you can kind of home in on that and figure out, okay, they are in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and build out autoresponder sequences for that, it makes the biggest difference in terms of the revenue that you'll build in the long term. And that's probably one of the things that people don't really understand. It's you have to spend a long time building a true audience that know you, like you, and care about your content, and then eventually they'll pay for whatever it is that you're trying to give away. It's like you have to give away a lot of free stuff, a lot of free information, pretty much give away the entire cake, and then eventually someone will say, "Oh, actually, now I'll send you some cash because I trust you, I like you, you are an expert."
Let's ask a question, because I've got to imagine, hearing you having talked for a while, like that you're testing, experimenting, and playing with the best uses for, like, where's AI playing a role in today's overall marketing strategy for your websites?
Yeah, so I think still kind of pushing in on the email side of things. To write email now is way easier than it used to be. I mean, I had to sit there and actually write these emails myself. I had to figure out things. I had to go into check different email hooks and to test them myself. But now you can just stick it into ChatGPT and it pretty much does it in seconds, right? So I think email marketing in terms of writing autoresponders and newsletters, it's so much easier. It's ridiculously easier now because you can test everything with a few clicks of a few buttons, and then you can see what works and what doesn't. In terms of the kind of Pinterest side of things, or the imagery side of things, in terms of my particular business, we do play around with AI images. Not too much though, if I'm being super honest, because people on Pinterest are looking for true lifestyle type images, right? In any niche that they're in. So having like a mock-up of like, I don't know, a barbecue chicken or something like that, and it doesn't look 100% accurate, it just can kind of turn people off. And specifically in Pinterest, because again, there are people on there, they're very, very image savvy. If they see any AI images and it doesn't look correct, they're just going to scroll past, or they're not going to engage. So we don't use too many AI images in kind of that context. We just find real, organic, authentic images and kind of add those in. And then I guess across the business in general, I'm kind of the type of person where when it comes to AI, there's actually too much choice. So I test things quite quickly, but I also don't kind of depend heavily on the AI tools. Not because they don't work, because you can spend way too much money just having a subscription, $30 a month, $40 a month, $10 a month on 50 different AI tools, and you don't really need the entire kind of software and then the entire toolkit. So I don't really use many other AI tools, if I'm being honest. Some of them are a little bit of a waste of time. Others make sense. But similar to kind of how crypto landed for me, a lot of them will just kind of disappear, and one of the big ones will kind of continue to stay. And thus far, if I'm being honest, ChatGPT and my $20 subscription seems to outweigh everything else I've used.
Hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of Niche Pursuits. Are you adding a new internal link pointing to each article you publish? You should be. Ever find it time-consuming and a bit overwhelming? Remembering what content you published and deciding which anchor text to use can be a real headache. What if there was a better way? Well, that's exactly why I created Link Whisper. Simply click Add Inbound Internal Links, and Link Whisper will scan your site in seconds and suggest the most relevant links with appropriate anchor text for your new article. Now simply check the box next to the internal links you want to add, and Link Whisper will add these links for you. No need to go into each article, edit, and add the link. It's already done. No more manual internal link building or guesswork. Just efficient, accurate linking that saves you time and improves your SEO. Transform your content strategy with Link Whisper. Start linking smarter, not harder. Use the coupon code podcast for $15 off. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use coupon code podcast to get $15 off.
Interesting. That's good. That's good insights. Good wisdom.
Yeah.
What else have you, or maybe there isn't anything. I'm kind of fishing with this question, but have you tried any other things like Pinterest, like email marketing, and what have the results been there? And maybe even anything that didn't work that you could share with us?
Do you mean kind of like traffic oriented? Okay.
Yeah, like any other forms of traffic. A lot of people are talking about, Facebook and going back to the organic Facebook methodology, for example. A lot of people are pivoting out elsewhere. I'm just curious. You seem like a tester. You seem like an experimenter. You seem like someone who's got an appetite for trying things.
Yeah, definitely. So I've tested out. So one of the things that I realized is after Google kind of made their decision on where they standed in terms of organic search and their cause, there are significantly more search engines, and some of them still do quite well. So one of the things that I've done recently is start to try to just optimize for Bing in that particular search engine, because it seems to do really well across other content sites that I have. And it's super simple to do. You kind of have to, and again, I never knew this because I depended on Google too much, but you sign up for a webmaster account, similar to Google Search Console, and then you go into their webmaster console and just see what's ranking and why it's ranking. And then any trends that you find, and you definitely will find some trends within Bing's webmaster console itself, you just double down on those. So figure out what they're ranking and why they're ranking it, and then create more content in that same kind of sub niche or sub category. And that seems to do really well. I never really focused on Bing until Google decided to do what it's doing, but after focus on it, there is definitely some meat on the bone still on other organic search engines.
So a lot of people don't realize you have a Bing analytics tool similar to Google Search Console. And so what you're saying is, well, first off, if you don't have that set it up, get in there and look at I'm sure a lot of people don't, and then get in there and look at the data and just basically find the content that's doing well and create more of it, or create more variations of it, kind of go down that topical silo.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It's easier than you think, and it will have a really high impact on your kind of traffic for the amount of input you need to put in.
I don't want to oversimplify it, but a lot of people talk about Bing as though it's maybe Google 5 or 10 years ago, just in terms of the level of sophistication and optimization that it needs. Like, are you doing any other optimization things? For example, we used to do keyword density analysis. We used to do primary, secondary keywords, headers, all very strategic, FAQs in content to get different types of links, just to name a few, right? Like, are you doing anything more than just finding topics, creating content for it, and moving on?
Yeah, to be honest, I usually don't. I don't go too granular in it because I think it's difficult to gauge whether what's working and what's not. But what I do is I use Rank Math, and they have a really good SEO tool there, and a kind of a indexing instant tool that they use that I would definitely recommend people to use. It's free, and you can pretty much just instantly index any content that once it's created for the first time.
What other stuff are you experimenting with? Even if it's outside of your content site, but other revenue models or other online ways to make money?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I'm a tester. I tested YouTube faceless videos, and it didn't really work for me, unfortunately. The way that I see campaigns is time in, and then project and kind of revenue out. And the time it takes to scale, in my opinion, a kind of a YouTube faceless account is unrealistic, unfortunately, and it's quite expensive as well with the tools you have to use. So to your point before, I do use some AI tools for YouTube. I use a script AI tool called 11 Labs, which is pretty good. And then I also use a video element software creation tool. It's called In Studio, I think, or AI Studio. They work really, really well. They're fantastic videos that we create. It's very long-winded. It's very mechanical. You've kind of got to put things together. So that's okay. I wouldn't recommend it if I'm being honest. What I would recommend, and this is something that, again, I never really thought it would work the way that it works because I never tried it. Definitely shout out to you and Spencer for putting this on my radar. But the Amazon Influencer Program seems to be just done quite well for me. In my spare time, in the evenings, on the weekends when I've got nothing to do and the kids are away, I've spent time in that area. And the results especially for someone that just needs their income to increase and they've got some time in the day, I would 1,000% recommend it. I've tried over the years, probably hundreds of campaigns. And for me, in terms of the time you put in and the results you get out, kind of on day 1, day 2, there's a no-brainer. 100% is a no-brainer. So yeah, that's where I am with that one.
Nice. Well, that's great. Yeah, we are big fans of the Amazon Influencer Program, probably for those exact reasons. Like, it's kind of hard to find something that can get you income that quickly. Or at least anything that compares to it. Where are you at with that? How many videos have you made? What kind of earnings are you seeing?
Yeah, I'm at 600 and maybe 20 videos-ish, in that range. I just had a crazy weekend where I just done like 80 videos on the weekend. I just had time and space. And so this is what I do. When it comes to Amazon Influencer, again, as I mentioned, it's kind of part-time. But whenever I go to a friend's house or mother-in-law's house or anyone's house that's new, I just literally go around the house and just record stuff. And it seems to work quite well. With that particular campaign, I don't really spend much time buying anything new. I just use whatever I have as is. So it's all profit. So in and around the 500 to 600 range as is. And I think the revenue is probably between 600 to 1,200 ranging. I started in probably January of this year and just my way up. So it's looking okay. I'm happy with results. I want to get to 1,000 and then kind of see what happens. Maybe reinvest some profits. But in terms of, again, the time I put in, how long the videos take, it's almost unedited. They go straight up to Amazon itself. And super happy with that. Definitely something I'd recommend for people.
We'll include a couple of links in the show notes to some of the interviews we did specifically on influencer. I know we talked a lot about it here and there in the news section of the podcast, but we have done some interviews specifically with people who have been doing it for years. So I'll include some notes there. That's great to hear. Switching gears a little bit, you run 2 agencies.
Yeah.
On top of all this, by the way. And I know for a fact, because I run a marketing agency myself, like, working with a bunch of different clients, you get kind of to see things from a higher level and you get to see trends that work across different niches. What can you tell us about what you're seeing working both maybe in SEO now, in Pinterest now? Like, we did talk about Pinterest, we did talk about SEO, but now I'm pulling back a bit and asking for like high level things you're noticing or trends you're seeing that are playing out today.
Yeah, good question. I would like to be super honest because, as I mentioned kind of before our call, many years ago when I was first started out, I watched kind of Spencer and you, and I've seen some of the honesty and some of the small nuggets and the things that I've seen on these kind of podcasts have really shaped the things that I do moving forward. And I would say to that regard, content sites as it used to be 2 years ago, and having keywords that you're kind of figuring out, finding them on Ahrefs or one of the keyword tools, and just writing for a content map and a content silo. I think those kind of days slowly been fizzled out, and then having these content sites only have affiliate or only have ad revenue. I don't think that's a really smart or efficient way to spend your time anymore. So content, the content business itself still works, but I think organic search and ranking sites with just Google definitely isn't something that I would recommend people to go into as of like right now, July 1st or July 2nd, where we are, 2024. So it's definitely a case of diversifying traffic. So still have if you're creating posts, still have those, but also have that some type of diversification in place, whether that's Pinterest or Facebook, or even direct with kind of direct traffic or email. And some of the trends that I've seen is people are not really spending as much time or money in kind of the atypical SEO ranking sites with organic search, because Google have changed so much. It's a little bit it's almost impossible to rank on kind of page 1 for many of the commercial keywords that people used to rank for. So it's kind of having that kind of mindset and having a shift. The business side of content sites still work, just not with the organic search. So can you get traffic to your sites from other sources? 100%. Can they sign up to an email list and buy something? Cool, definitely. Ad revenue is still in play as well. But just having a more holistic mindset of this is not just going to be an ad revenue and content play. You're going to have to figure out something that works and have more relationships with affiliate managers or potentially have your own product, and then have a long-term kind of vision of this being a real business, an actual business. Those are the trends that I've seen.
Where are you going to be putting your time and energy going forward?
Question.
You know, you have, and again, you could tackle this in terms of your individual sites and projects, or in general, as you balance managing these websites, these projects, plus your agencies.
Yeah, good question. I think how I'll answer it is like this. If I was coming into this industry right now, into this niche right now, and I kind of wanted to build a business, I would build the site as normal, but I would build the site with a digital product that I'm going to sell, or potentially an affiliate product that I'm going to sell, promote in mind. I wouldn't build something that I'm quote unquote passionate about. I'd find something that the actual market cares about and already shows me that there's more than enough people and offers and digital products in that particular space. So for example, I would probably right now build something visual related, fashion, lifestyle, cooking, something along that range, gardening, etc. Because the way that I see search changing is that most people are kind of on search platforms, so YouTube, for example, or Pinterest, or even TikTok, and they are looking through different videos or images to search for different queries. And I think that's just going to continue to increase. So video and image search are going to continue to increase. So I would spend more time in those areas. Specifically, I would scale Pinterest for one particular campaign, and I would scale Facebook. And again, as I mentioned before, probably something that's you already know works quite well. So recipes, for example, does really well on Facebook, does really well on Pinterest. And then you can scale and build a site very easily with AI tools, because listicles can be created very, very easily with some of the AI tools. And just kind of going through the process like that.
I think it might be a good time to ask this question. And you know, when it comes to scaling visual stuff requires media, you know, whether it's images, whether it's graphics, whatever you want to call it. You were talking about how, hey, you're not really bullish on the AI tools. Like, how are you going to scale out media? A lot of people listening, that's going to be a big question for them, is how they're going to scale out the media if they were going to pursue a visual oriented type of website or type of project.
Yeah, so I think image based will be very, very easy to do, because depending on where you're getting images from, but images are readily available if you're willing to find them on the internet, or potentially just do it yourself, which I would recommend. Takes a little bit more time, but I think video is going to be continue to be quite key. Some people aren't very keen to be on video, which is understandable, but I do think AI video tools are going to get a lot better. So just kind of playing in that marketplace of being involved in the video tools, seeing how they scale. Because this time last year, there was almost no way to have what we have now in terms of the video graphics that we have, and the way that that's changed. But I do think just the best advice I can give is just be involved in those marketplaces. So do the research and see how, as the tech continues to increase, what you can be kind of involved in and to keep up to trends. Because that's one of the reasons why the Pinterest side of things for me is just doing fantastically well, because it's a trend that's done quite well. And also it's the right time as well, because people that are maybe struggling with the SEO have moved it over to Pinterest and they're kind of testing things out.
Where do you find images for Pinterest or elsewhere online? Like, what types of, how do you find those? How do you source those?
Yeah, good question. So, you're gonna have to be double check your own double check the terms and conditions on the sites that you're using. But as I currently use it right now, I use Instagram, and I'll use a post and then have a source of the photo, the person, the account, etc. at the bottom. I haven't had any issues with it thus far, because I'm giving credit to the user. But definitely check if that's acceptable for you. I think that the pictures on Instagram are fantastic. You're not going to get anything that's going to be as visually appealing, because again, Pinterest is a visual, social media, but it's kind of a visual search engine in itself as well. And you can find everything on there. So that's how I currently use it.
Cool. Okay. As we kind of start to wrap up here, how are you, and again, this is like basically efficiency 101. How are you managing, what kind of efficiency tips do you have for someone who's juggling a lot, clearly, getting a lot done, has always gotten historically a lot done, I mean, heck, you even have time to dip your toe into Amazon Influencer, and you made almost, nearing 1,000 videos, right? Like, you get a lot done. And what kind of things do you do to allow yourself to have several agencies plus all these other projects that are changing rapidly?
Yeah. So there are a few things, if I'm being honest. I keep myself quite fit. That's not one of the first things people will say, but usually when your mind and kind of your body's aligned, it seems to just make things a lot easier. I am very much a kind of a scheduled person, so my calendar will be quite scheduled out correctly. I do the most impact things first in the day, so I try my best not to procrastinate on my phone, etc., etc. Most important things get done. I don't really have much fear, so I'll try things out. I'll spend some time doing what I think will work. If it doesn't work, I'll just move on. It's been something that I did when I first did my kind of affiliate marketing type of things. I'll just test loads of different offers and then eventually find one that worked. So definitely not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to reach out to people as well. Just kind of send someone a DM, send them an email, ask them what they're doing, ask them what works. Some people won't have time for you, but many people will. You'd be surprised. Because people generally like to help other people, especially if it means they're talking about themselves, because everyone likes to talk about themselves. And then I think the efficiency comes from making sure that in terms of my income, things are diversified. I'm very, very heavily diversified across my personal business, also businesses offline as well. I think probably it comes from growing up. I came from a family of 6 and 7, including my older sister as well. But we didn't have, we kind of lacked for some things growing up, and it comes from a fear of maybe going back to that place. So I want to continue to keep my revenue quite diversified. So anything happens, Google shuts this down or something, Amazon shuts that down, there are more than enough revenue streams to continue to lean into. And then, just positive attitude of it, if I'm being honest.
I love it. Those are good tips. I mean, some of them are like good reminders. Like, we probably heard some of them before, but it's interesting to hear you talk about the diversification, because you've won with diversifying. You clearly have a lot of things that you're balancing. There's downsides to that, but the upsides is you don't seem to be as affected by, say, an HCU or Google Update as many others. So it's a strong case and compelling case for what you're talking about.
100%. And to put it in perspective, when I first ranked my first affiliate site online, it was a pet site. I spent a lot of time actually writing all the content out before AI stuff. It done really well for about 6 months, and then I remember Amazon changed their terms and conditions or their affiliate revenue structure, and the commissions halved. And I thought to myself, I've just spent half a year on this website pretty much for myself, just in the weeds, and it obviously didn't feel fair. But more than that, something needs to change, and I thought I'm not going to allow that to happen again. So moving forward, keep diversification super high, and then hopefully revenue should, because things continue to change in whatever industry you're in. So sometimes lean into one thing. If that's working, fantastic, put 2 thumbs down. If not, lean into something else. But the most important thing is just to be structured and clear about what it is you're trying to achieve. But in this particular digital space, there's so much options, there's so many opportunities. The issue sometimes can be to find one thing that works. But this is what I would recommend. Try most things when you find something that works for you, because technically everything works, right? You can see examples of that. When you find something that works for you, just lean into it wholeheartedly. And that should hopefully work.
Mo, where can people follow along with what you have going, learn more about what you're doing?
Cool. So right now, the best place to find me is on Twitter. I'm pretty active as of maybe 2 or 3 months ago. So my Twitter handle is it's Mullah. So feel free to check me out there. Of course, I've got the agency side of things, nichewebsitemanagement.com. Feel free to check me out there as well. Or just shoot me an email, momullaconsultant@gmail.com. I'm super happy to give nuggets away, gems away, because I genuinely want to help people. There's more than enough for me to share that people can pick up on as well. And everyone's at different parts of their journey as well. So yes, definitely happy to help everyone.
We'll get all that in the show notes. Mo, thanks so much. You were, it's just really inspiring to have someone who comes on and has a really positive perspective on where things are headed and having all sorts of different examples of where you're succeeding with this. So I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It's been a kind of full circle for me, because like I mentioned, I've been listening to this for many, many years, and to be on it now, I'm really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thanks again. Hopefully we'll have you on again in the future. Good luck.
Awesome. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. I just wanted to remind you that if you are ready to start building smarter, faster, and easier internal links, you should check out Link Whisper. You can get $15 off Link Whisper when you use the coupon code PODCAST at checkout. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use the code PODCAST in order to save $15. Thanks again for listening.